Welcome, everyone. I am expecting some more people, but we're also broadcasting live on Facebook right now on our Facebook page. So in case someone wants to join from there, from the outside, doesn't have the access to the Zoom information, they are able to do that. So very good. So on my cell phone here, I'm actually going to be tracking any questions that come in. Should, all the ads from Facebook stop popping up. I'm like, wow, this is a lot of Facebook activity from their ad center. Anyway, tonight we're doing a virtual opening for our art lab project, which we have been doing for about a year now, but more formally in this last year. This was developed to address the isolation in studio practices and things that particularly became amplified during the pandemic and all the quarantines and things. We have artists from all over the world, and they come in with different kinds of experiences, with different processes and different concepts around their artwork. And within the Art Lab project, which is 8 weeks long, everybody communicates with each other, shares resources, and spends time developing their individual projects, but within the group context. Once a week we would meet. We talk about where we are in our projects. We do speed critiques. We do social things. And then I also, as the curator, will meet with people individually in breakout rooms and talk about the progress of the work and what we're seeing and start planning and plotting. But for me as a curator of the gallery here in Mexico City and on Artsy, I find that the process of working with each of the artists individually, and there are many of them here now, I find that working with them and understanding how they're constructing the work helps me curate the shows better. And I think that the reason that we've received so much attention in terms of the shows and the curation is because of that element. I think that personal element, that there's this disconnect in the gallery system that's inherent to how difficult it is to run a gallery. But I think making a conscious decision to connect with the artist and understand the work better has helped significantly in the quality of the shows and the way sales are. So I think, I believe I have experienced, and I am experiencing it, that this process is really helping significantly. And I'm excited about the future of this as well, as we continue to add, diversify, create more opportunities for artists, but also to have curatorial residencies, individual residencies with artists who need more individual time, all these different things. I feel like they're adding up and becoming more holistic. We've added a therapeutic element to the sort of team, where we have a therapist who works specifically with artists to help with breakthroughs and different things. I've spent 2 hours with her today already myself, and look, see, don't I look perfect and functional? Just kidding. That's my therapy joke. Thank you for those of you who laugh. And with Rodrigo, who is our gestor cultural, which is public relations for art, and he is our connector within Mexico City. He connects us with press. He connects us with the Secretaría de Cultura. We're sponsored by Ibero. Secretary of Cultura. He worked with us for the previous show, Manifiesto, and we were promoted throughout all the theaters in Mexico City. And, he's an extremely talented and very well-connected public relations person. So he has helped us significantly in the last, oh my gosh, it's already been 8 months working with him. So we've benefited greatly from that relationship. And as an artist, if you're looking for exposure within Mexico City or Mexico, he's part of our team, so you can work directly with him and make a plan with him as a separate contractor, but still related to our project. So you can see that there's a lot of different things going on. We recently moved our website over to a new platform. We're using Squarespace after so many bad experiences with GoDaddy. Hashtag GoDaddy fail a million times, and that still would not be enough. They actually deleted 10 years of my photography from my personal host site well, they provided me a 7-day notice, but what they didn't know is at that time I was sick with COVID. This was a year ago, so I didn't see the message until after everything had been deleted. Very disappointing. But we've had lots of issues with GoDaddy, so I don't recommend them. Squarespace was very easy. Literally was able to take a complex website from GoDaddy and WordPress and transfer it over to Squarespace. Super simple. I did it in one afternoon. Absolutely amazing. So really recommend that as a service too. Anyway, our website is there. We are opening today with this virtual opening, but we have a series of openings coming up that include our figurative collective show, Qualia, which Christine, who's in the chat right now and part of our residency, will be participating in. We have 4 solo shows coming up at the same time. So we're going to be hosting a solo show for Las Camelas, who were previously a part of our Manifiesto show as well. If you see any of the videos on our Instagram, look for the big feathers, the sort of drag-esque cabaret performance that we had at the end of our Manifiesto show. That was the Gemelas. So, and also we have Miguel. I'm just gonna butcher his name. Cascao. I'm Cascoa. Yes, I think that's it. He does these incredibly gorgeous and complex figurative pieces in a circular form. And we have this massive, like, I'm going to say 4 foot by 4 foot figurative piece, which will rest in between the 2 church windows in our gallery. So I'm very excited about that. And he's going to be displaying his sketches, which are much smaller, like 12 by 12 circles, in that atrium gallery space. We have Robert Rausch from our residency, who will have a solo show in the main gallery. It's some absolutely gorgeous work, and you're actually going to see some of those pieces from a solo show here today because these are part of this show. And then we have Jimena Okama doing her penis garden, which I'm just going to leave it at that. Just imagine large phallic objects hanging down over a space, and these beautiful globes, and it's just amazing. I'm not gonna give away too much. You have to check in on that one too. And then was that? Oh, that was before, yeah. So, and in our group show, Christine will be joining us. We have there's only 4 artists in that show, and I'm not going to remember the last name, but David Jester, who we've exhibited before, and Ali Warren, who is a part of the residency, and we've exhibited before. So lots going on there. If you're seeing this on Facebook and you want to know how you can apply, you can do that here on our website on the apply button. We do have the call for entry link right here, so you can go through that. If you've already applied with us, you probably have received an email about our residency and applying with your proposal directly through our website. So you can do that here, but the residency information is all here for you to look at. So you can see all the different elements of it, view our exhibitions, view samples of sessions, things like that. So there's a lot of information already available on the website. And of course, you could see the artists that we're working with, our team, our services, and our very, very extensive collection of videos here. And actually, here is Morgan. There's your video right there. So this is one of our current residents who's in the chat right now. So this is an actual segment from our art lab project. So very exciting. And of course, we have our Instagram, which I'm sure you're all familiar with, but I know that what you're really here for is for the virtual opening. So thanks for being patient with me on all that housekeeping stuff. I see also, welcome, San. Oakland, right? Oakland, California?
Yeah, currently New Mexico, but I'm from El Salvador, but living in Oakland for a little bit, right? Yes.
And in New Mexico for artist residency, visiting family?
Visiting family. Yes.
Awesome. Well, stay safe. We have Morgan joining us. Morgan, where are you at?
I am in Franklin, Tennessee, which is just south of Nashville.
Right. Okay. All right. I couldn't remember. I was like, I kept, for some reason, I was picturing Nashville. That's what it was. Yeah. Christine is joining us from Purdue University in Indiana. I can't believe I just stuttered on Lafayette, Indiana. I am myself, in fact, a Hoosier, so I will probably be rejected from any Facebook group where I'm a part of now. I don't know. And Fanxi is joining us from Virginia, not Norfolk, but
just Virginia. Yep, Richmond, Virginia.
Richmond, Virginia. Okay. So the show is now currently live on our Artsy page here through our sponsor, partner gallery, Art, and you can see this is actually a little bit smaller of a show than what we usually do. And I think what's interesting about that is that we as artists put so much pressure on ourselves to pay attention to the outcomes and the ideal of having something at the end of that 8 weeks. And in the previous group, we had some people discover that in the process of doing it, that the project was deeper, and they wanted to move further within the project before they exhibited it. And then some people, sometimes you put yourself into a timeline, and then you figure you're like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna make this. So some people are just continuing forward with the projects and working on them. So continue to check in on this page, because we will have another art lab that's closing in like 2 weeks now. So we'll have another show coming up in September, and then we're going to have another show coming up in November. So there's a lot of variety within the groups, and I love the diversity of our groups. I mean, I think the most often asked question from artists is, am I queer enough, or am I queer? Do I qualify? And I'm very open-minded about this idea about queer, because I adopted the term queer in the 80s when I was a member of ACT UP, and that was a way of protesting and referring back to the history. And I readopted queer again when Trump was elected, because I felt like it was extremely important to not be invisible, particularly during his presidency. And then when I started this project, I adopted queer in the methodology, and I was thinking about the outcomes of the previous presidency. And I felt like when I started this, that we really needed to draw the community together and create a less divisive space for people, and broaden the definition of what is queer. And queer means different. So the question, when somebody asked me the question, I asked them, well, how are you different? How are you outside the mainstream? Is it about your materials, about who you are conceptually as an artist? Is your aesthetic queer? So there are a lot of different ways that this has come about, and I like it because we have this nice diversity within the group. And so we can have conversations without feeling like we have to code shift or anything. And then questions come up and we're able to address them, or accidents happen, and sometimes people have said things that have offended someone or something. And then we were able to have a conversation about it and move on with our lives. And I felt like the energy created from this group and the project has really generated some beautiful, beautiful moments. I am going to start with, whoops, that just clicked right where it wanted to click. I'm going to start with you, Fanxi, because you're here at this very moment. And Fanxi, this is not the first time that we've exhibited you. You exhibited with us first for Soledad, which is our show last year in September. Through November, which we did here in the streets of Colonia Juarez here in Mexico City, because we were in the middle of the lockdown. So there was nobody was going to visit a gallery, and we created the project to allow people to follow a map and enjoy the streets and breathe in some fresh air and culture. So, and then you joined our residency not too long ago, and you've been continuing to produce. things shifted for you in the process of working on your work, and those themes I think are very relevant to the pandemic and the themes of, you know, our residency and thing too. I'd love to hear the story behind these photos, and I'll flip through the ones that we have here for you as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so this is a project. It's kind of like the shooting process is down now, but I'm still editing, like doing post-production of this. But this project, I called it In Between. It's kind of what I felt like because I had my undergrad in the US, and that's why I really relate to lots of like education stuff and cultural stuff here. But I originally came from China, so this April I had a break, so I went back to China. It was like after 1.5 years because of COVID. I was stuck in the US, and then I realized that okay, this home city, like this so-called home city, didn't feel home anymore. It's like very strange because I feel like lots of my friends have gone into a different direction. They have started their new lives, and I wasn't. My life was completely different from theirs, and lots of our mindsets have parted away because of the education I received here. I don't feel like that related to my friends anymore, and also like, you know, my family are really busy, and I was alone back in China most of the time. Like the main purpose of me going back was to reconnect with the people, with the city. But then it was like happened in the opposite way, in the like kind of the worst way I could imagine. I feel like I got into a self quarantine again, even though everything was pretty normal back in China. And so like this kind of feelings kind of prompt me to start taking photos myself. I used to do lots of stage photography with my friends, and I use gestures a lot because I really love human connections. I love like expressing that kind of feelings, like the intimacy or the vulnerability among human beings. But this time I kind of shifted my work, and it's like lots of street photography, lots of like me wandering in the city and, you know, seeing stuff. And I am really attracted to the shadows and the lights. I think they kind of reflected my you know, somewhat like upset or maybe a little like downside of my emotions, and it's kind of like sentimental. And yeah, but in the meantime I'm trying to reconnect with my friends. So once they get available, I ask them to be my models and maybe, you know, try to do some gestures that reflect my understanding of this environment specifically and create something. Yeah, like it was pretty intuitive, whether it's like purely street photography or it's like some work with models. But yeah, that's kind of what I was going through. Yeah.
And I was hoping the other piece was here because your work has so much physical intimacy between the models, and you tend to focus on that intimacy as the theme. Yeah. And so when you started producing this work in the art lab project in this previous one, the one we're doing the show for, I was like, hey, what's going on? Because normally there's this human quality in them. And when you explained to me that it was because of all these like shifts that had occurred because of the pandemia and your time in the United States and the separation, and that the people just weren't there, then I started to assign that intimacy quality to these spaces and the way that you're actually using the shadows to create that sense of intimacy that you don't have with a human, of course, but like thinking more in terms of like just even inside the spaces, like the level of intimacy created by those shadows is super, super beautiful. I mean, they still maintain the beauty that I've become used to within your own work that we've displayed here too. So it's very engaging, and I love what you're doing with it. Now you've continued on with this project into the Art Lab project that we're currently hosting in week 6 of 8. And now you're really diving into the editing and things. Is there anything coming out of the work that we should be looking for in the near future?
I'm trying to kind of like curate a book. Maybe it was in my plan, but I haven't like, put everything together and trying to like make sense of everything together yet. I'm still in the process of doing that, but I hope like I can create, even if it's like a small pamphlet or like a PDF book, something like that,
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you please share that with me when you're ready to, and we have a digital publishing platform that we use for our catalogs and things, and we offer subscriptions to the series of catalogs, but we're also working on a yearly and annual for the end of the year of all of our exhibited artists. And so I would love to work with you to do a digital publication, and we're trying to attach that to a press here in Mexico because the cost of printing is so significantly different. And we tried to do the digital publication and to see what it would cost to have it printed as a book. And in the United States, it was like $170 or something ridiculous like that. And I'm like, no, I know I can get it done for like $30 in Mexico. So we'll talk about that more in the context of the residency, but that's exciting to hear that you're thinking about a book for that, because I think that would make a fantastic book. So I think next we will go on to Christine. Christine, how are you?
I'm here. I'm good.
Yeah, I'm entering this the absolute most abstract way possible because here we are. There we are.
Okay.
Fantastic. Now, Christine, this is your first exhibition with us, yes?
Yes.
Yes, and I would love you to tell us a little bit more about like where this is coming from and how it came together and what you learned in the process of it.
So at its base level, all of my work is about body image and accepting of one's own form. And a lot of my previous work, I've used my own body to sort of figure out myself, my image. And in that study, I definitely started to think about what's influenced my own feelings about my body. So I started to think about how the female body has been portrayed in art history and just our general media and our current culture. So I have moved on to using other models, other female bodies to represent, to sort of put them together in ways that might encourage a dialogue within someone to think about how they approach a female body, or even their own form. So I have been working, I'm primarily a large charcoal on paper artist, and I wanted to get a little more colorful in my work. So I just this year have been experimenting a lot with different types of media, and this one is new to me. I hadn't worked with a lot of color pencil in the past, but this year I've been experimenting with that, as well as batik and wax crayon. So this piece is I only did this one piece. It's a pretty large piece, like 4 by 5 feet ish around there. So so it's mostly color pencil, and the yellow is paint. But I had an original plan to fully fill and saturate this background from corner to corner. And halfway through, I had a great critique session and conversation with the group in the residency here. And we sort of figured out what things were working on their own by the way at the stage it was at. And I'm pretty happy with where it sits right now. Yeah.
It's really gorgeous. I wish I could see it right here in front of me.
In person.
I love Artsy and the digital platform. And I don't know if you know this, that you can use your phone and like I could place this on my wall like digitally through the Artsy app, which I didn't know that until a few months ago. And I was like, oh, that's a really great tool, very helpful. But it doesn't also, it's just like I've seen your work in person, which, by the way, your work arrived today for the upcoming Qualia show. So I'm super excited. I did not open it because we have too much construction in the gallery. So I'm waiting until some parts of it, there's like a safe space to do it. Because I was just like, oh, it was just, this box. And how many of your drawings are in there?
6, I think.
6, okay. Yeah. So there's this box with your 6 drawings, and I was just like, oh, I want to open it, but if I do this, I feel like I'm in. Yeah. I'm like, oh no, it's too dangerous. We just got the very last piece of artwork from the previous show out of the gallery, and I've been stressed about it. So because we have all this painting and construction going on, I'm like, oh.
Well, it is a big difference to see, I know, my work in person, because a lot of the time it's really large. So I love when the bodies are as big as the viewer's body.
Right.
So it's much more confrontational in that way. And you're I like to be able to sort of envelop the view. So you're not really paying attention to anything else, because it's so large. It's all you can kind of look at. And
that's really interesting. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I also love, just because I'm obsessed with drawing, I love the sort of large motions that it takes to make the big drawings too.
Yeah, I think we did discuss this idea of Lucian Freud and his particularly his recline on sofa ones. And my first and one of the more memorable experiences, and that experience of that nude, and it was I can't remember the name of the performance artist, and he was nude on a couch, and he's a large person anyway, but the scale of it, and then it was slightly leaned over this way, and that experience was the reason that I went to study painting. That's I remember having that experience in the Museum of Contemporary Art in Seattle, and this was in the early 90s. So and then I started painting, because that's how these kinds of beautiful objects that are figurative. What is the draw to figurative work for you? Because there's so many things to paint. Why figures?
Well, it's something that I've always drawn ever since. I think I'm just obsessed with bodies. Everything's better naked. So I'm like, yes, let's get naked and I will draw you. So I don't know. I'm just completely obsessed with it. I think it's a really good way of like I mentioned, confronting the viewer. I think it's more confrontational, and I can sort of push people a little bit more when I'm presenting a body.
And this just occurred to me. I'm curious if there's been any shift in the perspective on your work because of the pandemia and the relation to the personal self and body for you. And have you heard different things from your audiences as a result?
Well, a little bit. I've definitely, I don't know if this is related to the pandemic, but I've definitely been thinking a little bit more about how the female bodies that I'm presenting are very traditional in terms of gender. And I've definitely been thinking about different ways that I can present different types of female bodies in my work. So that's to come in the next piece.
has your audience responded differently to the figurative work? I mean, obviously we have social distancing and masks and, you know.
Not necessarily. I've been lucky enough to, I mean, a lot of galleries have shut down and things like that. And I've been lucky enough to get to be able to show my work in a couple shows this year in person. But in terms of it being related to the pandemic, I haven't had any like issues or anything like that.
Oh, I wasn't thinking it was an issue. I was thinking about this ideal of like our relationship to our body and the paranoia of closeness and like how we feel about our own body, and then the way we, you know, like we all have different ways of coping with this historic event, and so like the physical form of the body, I feel like if it hasn't already, like figurative artwork, I think there's just going to be a shift, and I haven't figured out what that is going to be. But
I don't know either. But I can see what you're saying. How nude figures are so exposed, and my figures are so squished together. So you're thinking, I can see how this could cause paranoia when you walk up to it, and you're like, "Why are they so close together? And
they're not wearing masks."
Yeah. No, I can totally see that. Even just when we were all in lockdown, and then all of our first outings were like, or watching people on TV in crowds. I don't know if you've ever had the experience when you're like, wait, why don't they have masks on? And then you realize this is television.
Right.
This is not our,
yeah.
So I can definitely see that leaking into figurative artwork as well.
Yeah, I'm the reason that like this upcoming show that you're in, Qualia, the reason that we chose that I was thinking about that was because the concept of qualia is how you describe experiences in the real world, like the psychological expression of it, and how there's like this area of unity where we all like say things like it was a blood red moon, and you know, and so we describe them in a very specific and sort of creative artistic way, and then we experience them psychologically in different ways. And so the human form is this expression during a pandemia that has like could have a sense of paranoia for some people. It could have a sense of beauty and wonder for others. And, you know, and yeah, like, you know, Fangxi, this is the reason I chose your work for the Soledad show, you know, was because of that relationship of touch and how these ideal of bodies colliding or body parts or you know, overlapping and things. So I'm super excited about like this ideal of figurative work. But I, you know, we talked about this before, Christine, and I have found nothing like particularly new or changing in the figurative art community that has been exhibited yet. So I'm hoping that this is a part of a new dialogue in figurative artwork, because what you've created is gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And I'm going to fly all the way to Lafayette, Indiana to see that. I would like to go on now to Ana Lopez. Ana, how are you?
Hey, how are you, everybody?
It's great to see you. You're here in Mexico City too, right?
Yes, I'm in Mexico City.
And you've been a part of the residency now for, I think, maybe 7 or 8 months now, right?
Yes.
And this work was created in our previous art lab. You participated in one art lab prior to that, and you're observing during this art lab to take a break, but you've been with us for quite a while. And you also help me with things in the gallery all the time, which I'm extremely grateful for. You're the reason that we were able to get Christine's work today.
Oh, that's great. Happy to be useful, Michael, and happy to be working with you. Yes.
Yeah, and my Spanish on cell phones does not exist at all. It's like I never realized how much I rely upon being able to see lips and eyes and isolate into a context with the language. I can't do it on the phone. Like I'm so oriented towards the visuals and touch and stuff that I lose track of what is being said, you know, on the phone. So it's always an issue. But could you talk to us about like what's happening with your work and how it's evolved in the Art Lab project as well to this? Because your work has shifted like major in the last 7 or 8 months too, and it's just incredible to watch.
Yes, I think it's for me it has been an exciting how do you say it, trip. Because we talked about color in that art lab, no, in this art lab, no.
Yes.
And I was going out of color with my previous pieces, and just introducing a little bit of color just started to really boost the ideas and boost just to think about it. It was a really good concept, and I think what happened is that I started to enjoy the process, and since I was working with broken pieces or tear down pieces of my own work, I start seeing my work in a different way through color, and it just happened that I start with this piece that it became like a 1 meter and something, and now I did it, and then the other piece is like 2 meters. I was just really into the process. So I'm just happy. I'm really happy that it happened, because the process was so rewarding to me. I'm not sure about the results, but it was a really good learning experience.
Well, we don't show ugly work, and not everybody who participates in Art Lab gets to show their work, because it's not always ready to be shown too. I mean, this is first of all, a dramatic scale shift for you, because when I first started working with you, you were more in the very small size of things, like under 10 inches or 30 centimeters, like around there. And now your monotypes, I mean, of course, which are beautiful. And what is the connection? How did you connect from the monotypes to this collaging technique? And what was the moment when you decided to go this large? Because this is even a larger shift than what you had done in the previous.
Yes. Well, in this piece, there's no monotype, but in the other larger piece, there's monotypes that I did in a large format, in the whole piece of paper. And I think from monotypes to this, I'm not sure what exactly happened, but I think it was just the search for a dialogue or a continuity or something that can talk in the piece, like you know, there's color, there's like 3 stories going for me in this piece, and they're intertwined, and it's what happens to this color or the monotype or this paper with Japanese paper. So I just think of them as abstract stories, and in my monotypes I cut out paper and I ink the paper, but I didn't thought of them as stories. So now what I'm doing is making stories with my monotypes, like from one piece to the other, like pieces of 7 or pieces of 8 monotypes, and they're kind of telling a story of what's happening with the color. No? So I don't know. I don't really know how I came to this size, but it just happened.
Well, I also remember, I think I remember having a conversation with you about being, allowing yourself to be more free and play with it, because the scale shift, which I totally identify with this idea of like when I shift scale, sometimes I get overwhelmed or lost in like specific areas of detail, or like, and then like I need to feel like I have a sense of accomplishment in the process too. So sometimes when something's really large and the timeline gets really, really long, you know, I'm like, okay, how do I make something complete? Or, you know, so like that shift from scale, it can be really intimidating and challenging, but it seems to have also freed up space for you as well, by taking space, playing, but also, you know, like, I mean, it's gorgeous. And you shifted directions too, because before you were going vertical in the show that we did for Zona Mako, with your piece, was a vertical with horizontal lines too. So, and now you're horizontal vertical. You're changing everything up. I love the way that you're able to take all the commentary and critiques in the group and you just play with everything. So
yes, I think it's a part of the art lab, and the richness of it is the critiques, and just having my peers or our peers to just comment in little things that they see is just so rich. And I want to thank everybody, and thank you, Michael, of course. But I think it's nice to be pushed this way, to be pushed in freedom and in creativity, and yes, just letting things go. Just not letting things go, but just letting things happen and react to it. It's good. Yes.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and you always add a lot to our group. So I love having you as a part of it. And I think, you know, if you could just stay until like the end of time, that's great too.
I would love to.
The other pieces in the show are visible through Artsy. I'm trying to get it to release that image. I'm gonna go ahead and mute you there. Sorry about that. And there you can see the entire show through Dab Art here in the events. And I had talked to Robert today. He's actually working on a photo shoot right now, so he won't be able to join us. But Robert and Stephen, who's traveling, Stephen is from Haiti, so he is very much involved in fundraising right now. And he is donating his proceeds from the pieces that are here in the show. He's donating his proceeds to several organizations. And if you go to his Instagram page, you could see the organizations that he, as a Haitian, is recommending for donation. So he has firsthand experience already of these organizations. He knows who the people are, and can recommend them with confidence. But obviously with the earthquake there, overlapping the pandemia, the hurricanes, like they're just not having, you know, the political issues going on there right now. You know, that community, specifically the queer community, needs our support right now. So please check out his Instagram, and you can see more there. But we're heavily focused on these. Robert's work is actually going to be shown as a solo show. He does have an interview in our YouTube channel, as well as Stephen Baboon talking about his work as well. So both Robert and Stephen can be seen on our YouTube channel to hear more information. Costa is in Russia, and he was unable to join us this evening too. We've had so much fun working with Costa. He is an extremely prolific artist. Every time I talk to him, I just talked to him yesterday, and he was working on 3 huge paintings, like as a part of a commission, and he's doing really, really extremely well in his work. So it's exciting to have him as part of the residency, and we'll continue to see him in the residency as well. So please check out his work. I think that was it. So, and of course, as I said before, within the website itself, there's tons of information. You can always reach out to me and ask questions if you need to. If you're interested in the residency, in our exhibition programming. All those pieces of information can be found here within the website, and you can connect with us through Instagram and Facebook, which we're broadcasting live on now. Does anybody go to Facebook anymore? Like I'm just broadcasting live on Facebook because Zoom allows us to do that, and so I was like, oh, that's a great place to broadcast to. But everybody's on Instagram, and then I don't know what's going to be next. Does anybody know what will be next? Anyway, we have tons of content. You can access it through Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, this website as well. So one of my sort of core values, beliefs for this residency is that the artists need to be able to tell their story, and that information should be out there for people to discover, to go to a show and experience the artwork and be able to pull you up and see you speaking about your own work, talking about your processes and the concepts and the emotional qualities that occur in artwork that so often can be removed by the gallery or museum experience. So I'm trying to bridge that gap for people who are in the spectrum of art and don't know where to put themselves, you know? And so we know as artists where we are in the spectrum, and we discover all the time new parts of that, but art can be intimidating. It can be hard for people to access the stories, and particularly within the queer community, this is the way that we capture our history and our unique experiences. Hopefully this archive just exists forever as a result of that.